All you globetrotters out there will know that traveling can be a bit of a minefield in terms of knowing what to do or how to act in certain situations. Customs and cultures vary widely, and so what is polite in one country might be darn rude in another. If we look at the United States, it's a fairly laid-back culture, and it would be unusual to get things too wrong. But it's not that laid back as many Europeans might have learned when they didn't leave a tip at any of the places they ate or drank at. You can virtually embarrass yourself in any country, and today we'll find out how in this episode of the Infographics Show. Embarrassing tourist mistakes everyone makes around the world. 10. Italy. There are a few things in Italy which you might do wrong or even take offense to. Take staring, for instance. Italians do seem to stare at you a lot. This doesn't mean you should go up to people and ask the question, "What the hell are you looking at?" As one person writing for the Huffington Post says, you might well get a good staring at by groups of Italian men standing outside of a scommesse. The stares are not usually aggressive. It's just what people often do. If you're a woman, you might even hear the words "ciao bella." You might not like such overt flirtation, but again, it's cultural, and getting all mad about it may just end up being embarrassing for you. This was discussed on TripAdvisor with one person writing, "It's part of the Italian male scene. I suppose you could say that it's in their genes." 9. Japan. Japan is very friendly for the most part, but there are a few things you could do to upset someone. One thing, and this is the same in many parts of Asia, is when you accept someone's business card, you should not do it with just one hand. It's actually quite serious business accepting those cards, so you should look grateful and hold out two hands. Another thing, don't be really loud in public. Loud Americans, listen up. It's considered really rude in Japan to talk very loudly in public places, and that includes shouting down your phone so everyone in the vicinity can hear. If you have a cold, you might not want to advertise it by coughing loudly or taking a big blow of your nose. The Japanese often wear surgical masks when they're sick, and they certainly don't want to be near a person that's obviously carrying an infection. 8. France. If you've spent a fair bit of time in France, you'll know it's really not the place to be shouting your orders or questions in English. Learn some French and understand many people will resent you if you think they will understand your English. If you're invited for dinner, don't go crazy on the first course or drink your wine like it's a drinking competition. Eating in France is often quite the ritual, with many courses being served and lots of conversation. It's not about consuming as fast as you can. "Don't make a pig of yourself" might be the appropriate expression. The French already have enough rude American and uncouth Brit jokes. 7. Saudi Arabia. Let's go now to the Middle East, to a country with a lot of cultural do's and don'ts. Well, the first thing is don't think about getting into an argument about the merits of Islam. This won't just be embarrassing, but it could mean serious trouble for you. If you can do that, people might like you more. They might even invite you to dinner, which happens a lot there. Whatever you do, try very hard to say yes. It's seen as mightily impolite to refuse a dinner invitation at someone's house. Oh, and please don't complain about the stores being closed during what's called azan. That's just the way it is. Women might have to accept the fact that they won't be allowed to drive or even go to a normal gym. You'll have to find a woman's gym. One of those was recently closed down because pictures emerged showing women there wearing tight-fitting clothes. By the way, the driving ban for women has been lifted, but so far not many licenses have been issued. If you're a female visitor, it's unlikely you'll be getting behind the wheel. 6. Thailand. This is a nation where you'll find hordes of tourists from around the world basking under the sun on beautiful beaches and trekking through rolling mountains. It's also a place where the locals take videos of Farang, or foreigners breaching cultural do's and don'ts. The number one is probably Westerners being a bit too affectionate in public, which is a big no-no in Thailand. Or what about Westerners turning up to temples in beachwear or donning skimpy shorts for a visit to a government office? Perhaps even worse is putting your feet too close to someone's head, something that is sure to create very hostile feelings. Do these things happen? Yes, and quite often. You might just find yourself starring in a viral, in Thailand at least, video if you do any of these things. 5. Brazil. Reading tourism websites, we're told that making the OK sign in this country isn't okay at all. One blogger writes, "It's very obscene. It means screw you." So yeah, it's an easy mistake to make, but might end badly for you. Brazil.com tells us you should not eat with your hands in the country, as people will think you are uncivilized. tourist. And yes, that applies to eating pizza too. Things that are also embarrassing for tourists and seem to happen quite often are visitors using the Spanish language, thinking the Portuguese-speaking people are actually Spanish speakers. Tourists, we are told, should also not call the USA America. Why? Well, Brazil is also America, just South America. If you do this, you'll look ignorant. 4. Sweden. Let's venture into Scandinavia and Sweden. One Swedish tourism website tells us that one mistake people make is thinking everyone here is fluent in English. While Swedes in general are good at English, just remember not everyone will understand you, especially if you have some broad Scottish accent or are a fast-talking person from Kentucky. According to one website, the Swedes often regard some visitors as loud and overly animated in conversation. This is the quickest way to irritate the locals, and you can expect to be gently reprimanded if your voice carries over to the next table, said the writer. We're also told not to invade someone's personal space, as Swedes are not keen on that. Keep your distance if possible. 3. China. Over to China, and we're told one thing tourists often do to embarrass themselves is greet people with a bow. You're in China, not Japan. Some people may shake hands, but whatever you do, don't apply that strong grip, which many people are told is a sign of confidence or even sincerity. In China, it will be taken as you being aggressive. If you eat out, don't leave your chopsticks standing like poles in your food. While this might seem convenient, it's symbolic in China of incense sticks at a funeral. You might also not want to write with red ink. For many reasons, it's symbolic of death. Many Westerners have written someone's name in red ink, and we can tell you it doesn't go down well at all. 2. India. This is such a culturally diverse nation that customs will change depending on where you are, but it's generally accepted that wearing skimpy clothes in public is a no-no. The beach, okay, but not walking down the street or exploring the countryside. One website tells us there's a common perception in India that foreign women are promiscuous, and wearing inappropriate clothing perpetuates this. Showing a lot of your body may result in a lot of attention, but despite this, many tourists still don't adhere to India's conservative dressing standards. Sticking with clothes, try to remember that when you go indoors, Indians will generally take off their shoes. If you don't, you'll look rude. Another thing that will not go down well is passing people things with your left hand. The left hand is usually used for matters of going to the bathroom. 1. The USA. So what about the USA? A country that is fairly laid back, and if anything is more associated with cultural rule breaking than having rules broken. Well, as we said already, tipping for good service is a big deal in the US. You'll look very stingy if you take a "I don't tip" approach when visiting the country. In some parts of the world, it's fairly normal to see people smoking cigarettes, but in the US, you should be aware that smoking in public is very much frowned upon or even illegal. California has very strict smoking rules, so be aware. You might also remember that the metric system is generally not used in the USA. People won't be offended if you do talk in kilometers and kilograms, but they might be confused. We've also read stories of some people saying Americans are overly friendly. Yes, that's a thing. On Quora, this is discussed many times, with one person writing, "I'm from Vienna, Austria, a city where people are known to be grumpy and ever complaining. The American friendliness often strikes as superficial and insincere." Well, you get used to it and wear your smile. We could have talked about so many more nations, but why don't you tell us how tourists can embarrass themselves in your country? We can help each other out in that way. Let us know some do's and don'ts in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other video, Weird Things Americans Do. Thanks for watching, and as always, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.